Cool. Has anyone here heard of or used Notion or heard of it?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Cool. People use it too.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Every day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing. Wow, this is great. um, cool. So, awesome. So, just to give you some context, so I've been at Notion for almost 3 years, and I joined in kind of a pretty, I guess, unique way. I discovered it on Product Hunt, I think in like 2017 or 2018, maybe 2017, and I tried using it a couple of times, and it really did not work for me. But then on like the fifth or sixth try, which is pretty common, I think, for folks, I was like, whoa, this is really cool. And I started to use it, and I tweeted like a picture of my Notion homepage, back when like Notion was, I mean, yeah, it was whatever it was. This was 3 years ago, so this was earlier on, and a lot of people, you can see like a lot of people responded and were like into it, and it was and what happened was it was folks were just like excited to see how other people were using Notion. It was kind of when Notion was getting like kind of early traction and adoption. So what I thought would be cool would be to kind of create a place, after so many people asked me on Twitter, like, oh, can you show me this page, show me that page, how you set this up, how you set that up. I built a website, which was called Notionpages.com, which I really haven't updated since 2018. This is kind of what it looked like, which was just like a place where people could show like how they were using Notion. And this was actually before Notion had templates, before you could duplicate stuff. So it was literally, I mean, you can go in here, it's literally just screenshots of, well, I guess we added some, but like, it was mostly just like images, really basic stuff. And I launched on Product Hunt and got a lot of traction, and people thought it was pretty cool and started submitting templates or however they were using Notion. And I was really excited about it, so I kept on building it out. And probably a couple months later, it was getting like 50,000-60,000 visits a month, so it was growing quite quickly. And I also teamed up with someone to start a Notion Facebook group, which was called Notion Made Simple. This is what it looks like today, and I was just having so much fun doing all this. Like I was working part-time with a couple of startups, like one day here, one day there, really enjoyable, but I had like a little bit of extra time. So I was just buying like notionatwork.com, notionpages.com, like all these different websites where people could just share cool things about Notion. And then I connected with like the CEO, Ivan, and Akshay, the COO. And I told them, I was in New York, I think. I told them, oh, I'll be in San Francisco next week. Do you want to have lunch? And it wasn't really going to be. But yeah, we decided to meet up, and so I just bought a ticket, went out there, and it was really good timing because Notion had just hired. Notion was about like 10 people then, and they had just hired someone named Camille to lead marketing. So I met her, I think, on her first or second day, and we decided to work together on building Notion, a template gallery, kind of taking Notion pages and turning it into a template gallery, or Notion's own template gallery, kind of a much more sophisticated version of this. So I started working with Notion early, doing that, and then probably a couple months later, ended up joining full time, and that's kind of how I ended up at Notion, kind of working on community stuff, which has been really fun. So I'm probably the only person at Notion that hasn't really interviewed, or there was never really a job role. I just kind of made it up, which I was very lucky to do.
Very nice.
Oh, sorry. Should I mute someone talking? Oh no worries. If anyone has any questions or like wants to chat about something, I'm happy to stop in the middle or just chat. Pretty casual. Yeah. So I'm I thought I would just share like some of the stuff that we worked on early on at Notion, and kind of like how we've gotten there. Um, it's Notion, I think, is kind of stepping back a bit. I think Notion is really special in that it has kind of one of the more engaged, passionate, vocal kind of user bases out there. And I think also what's really cool about Notion is that people, you can really create anything you want with it. It's the way we look at it is like it's Lego. You have Lego blocks to create whatever you want, and so because there are so many use cases and things you can create with it, and so much creativity there, I think a lot of people enjoy like connecting and talking about Notion, showing each other how they use it, sharing templates, helping each other. There's a lot of collaboration that kind of goes that filters between like different Notion users around the world. So I'll talk a little bit about kind of like what we've tried to do to help kind of encourage that and grow that over time. So some of the first things that we worked on were, like I said, this template gallery, which the idea was, if for a lot of folks get to Notion, they don't really know what it is, and or how to use it, and so having like kind of pre-existing templates was something that could help folks kind of get started early and quickly. So that's you could see that in Notion.so/templates, and we've been thinking a lot about like how we can take that and turn into something a lot more interactive and dynamic, which I'm really excited about. Another thing that happened early on, kind of like 3-ish years ago, that was really fun to see was we saw a lot of folks started connecting around Notion and meeting each other. So this is an example in Korea where they even like printed their own swag to for like a Notion meetup. And our approach to this was like, this is awesome. Like, let's just let people do this and give them whatever they need to make it happen. So we started kind of providing funding and sending swag and just trying to keep track and like encourage more folks to go to these events. So this is another example of two incredible folks in our community who organized some events in Canada, and these are like the swag bags that we sent them. It was really cool to see, and this was obviously like prior to COVID. It was really cool to see all these things happening. Like there were months where there were events every single day. Like this is in Taiwan, in LA, Poland, Mexico, Hong Kong, Ukraine. Notion is, I think 80% of our users are outside of the US. So it's an incredibly global community and user base. So these are just more examples of like from different cities. This is in Japan as well. So early on, I would say like my first year at Notion, a lot of what we worked on was trying to encourage this and just provide support to the like folks that wanted to connect and meet up. And we also organized some of our own events. We did some in our office in New York and in different places. But ultimately, we really loved just seeing like the community organized events and just seeing how creative folks were and how passionate they were about connecting around Notion. And around the same time, we also started to see a lot of folks creating their own Notion groups. And I'll show you kind of a couple examples of that. People started to create all these different groups like in different platforms on Facebook and Twitter and WeChat and Telegram. These are like the majority of them. And our approach there was actually just to like really encourage folks to do that and just like endorse them. And there were kind of moments where we thought like, oh, we should create our own and kind of try to centralize all of it. But ultimately, like over time, we figured like the benefit of kind of having it be bottoms up, very organic, and just having it be like as authentic as possible was really what we were going for. And I think that's really contributed to like why these communities have grown so much. Like, so the scale to which these groups have reached, I think, is something that we never would have been able to if they were in like one place, or we were forcing or kind of trying to like direct the conversation in one place. So you know, because it's on kind of local platform, whatever local platform they're on, and in their language, and you know, I think there's a lot, there's a much deeper connection to like the conversation going on there. And to give you a sense of like how big these groups are, like there's a Notion Korea group that has 35,000 people. There's a Notion in Arabic group that has about 40,000. There's a Notion in Vietnam Facebook group that has 160,000 people. There's a subreddit that has about 150,000 people. So these all have kind of popped up over the past 2 years, I would say, you know, starting at zero, and they've grown incredibly fast, and they're entirely community run. Sorry, I see some people, if you have any questions, by the way, you want to post them in the chat, happy to go over them. I see someone asked a question about for the global community, was the pricing the same for international customers? How did you approach localization when it went from free plan to paid plan? Yeah, we've had the same pricing for customers, regardless of where they are. For localization, we've only localized in Korean and Japanese. We don't have any other localization yet, and it's still the same plan. I don't know if that helps, Diana, but if you have any follow-up, I'm happy to answer. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So that's kind of on these community organized groups. And as a part of all that, what we started to notice, which I'm sure a lot of you have done as well, is we started to notice that there were some of these super fans who were creating and organizing a lot of these events and groups and the conversation and just doing like incredible things. And kind of early on, we thought it would be really cool to just bring them together and have a place for them to connect, and also be able to really connect closely to the Notion team. So you know, we saw folks who were like writing books about Notion, who were creating their own swag, who were running these events, like just doing these things for fun, and we were just so like excited about that. And that's really how we were able to identify them. Like they were just taking the lead and just doing these things. So what we did was we created a Slack group and kind of brought them in there, and a Notion workspace to kind of share information. And we've really used that as like a portal to a lot of these folks who are kind of running all of these communities out there, or who are organizing, I guess now online events, not really offline events anymore, and trying to keep them in kind of one place where we could then give them like direct access to our team, and really hear kind of what's going on in their heads, and what they're excited about, and what they're kind of hearing from the community. And that's been something that's been really fun to build. And you probably can't really see this, but like, you know, we've also tried to kind of create like a shared mission with these folks. And I guess I can send you this afterwards if you want to look at this more closely. But you know, it's something that we've like continuing to evolve as we kind of like partner with them closely and do more and more together with them, and also just kind of giving folks like, you know, different exciting perks that they might be excited about. Some of these things we weren't able to do. Some of them we've tried to do more, but you know, giving them, for example, like early access to new features, that's been probably like the most popular thing. And for us, just getting like feedback on new things that we're building has been very helpful from the folks who are so like deep in the trenches. Or giving folks like a budget to speak at events about Notion, things like that. And you know, providing guides as well on like how to organize events and all of that. That's kind of what we set up in like a Notion workspace. And for us, like we've really tried to like show them, you know, how appreciative we are of what they're doing and how much they're contributing to the community by kind of being these leaders there. This is just some video from probably like 2 years ago. I don't even know if it's still working. Yeah. This is like probably when we were, yeah, the team was a 20th the size it is now. So you know, we've tried to really kind of give these folks like a very close and you know, warm connection to, you know, to the folks at Notion. Yeah, is this interesting so far? Or I haven't really like spoken too much about this stuff in the past, so I am definitely love to hear like your feedback or things that you'd be interested in like hearing more about, you know, on our end. Happy to. Yeah, I'm following the chat, so feel free to ask or chime in there. Cool. How did you say? Oh, cool. A couple of questions. Yeah, we'd love to hear more about scaling your community. Yeah, that's some stuff. That's actually a couple of things I was going to talk about afterwards. So we'll definitely do that. How did you set up work streams with the product team? I do you mean like how did we gather feedback or from folks like in the Notion community?
Sure,
Wasn't too.
I'll
Oh
just come
yeah,
off mute.
sure.
Okay. I was just curious, you know, obviously you mentioned that most of the community was international. So with that, and there's just a lot of context and use cases and all that. So I wanted to understand maybe how did the community work with the product team, or were there certain programs outside of the ambassadorship that helped the product team?
Yeah, I would say like the two biggest things have been one is like our customer experience team who kind of manages our Twitter, our intercom where we chat with customers. They have a really robust tagging system where every conversation that we have, they'll tag as like this feature request or this type of improvement. And I think what's really cool to see is like when you know at scale when a team or when your user base is pretty big, you can really gather a lot of information that way. So you know, you can see trends kind of through those tags, like how many people are asking for this feature or like how many people are kind of complaining about this. And they've been really incredible at kind of leaving or continuing to tag this information you know, from every customer interaction, whether it's in a private channel or a public social media channel. So that's one place. And then um, also in our ambassador group, we have like a feedback channel where we do kind of pay close attention to like the things that are you know, to the things that those folks in that community are sharing. And that's also a little easier to monitor just because it's a much smaller group. So, you know, given that they're kind of representing and interacting with like thousands, tens of thousands of users, you know, wherever they are, their feedback kind of is able to encompass a lot. So that's been super helpful for us as well. I see. I want to know how many people here are using Notion personally or for work. Oh, interesting. I'm a paid personal plan user. Okay. Yeah, I'm also curious to hear that as well. Okay, cool. Yeah. So in terms of like how community as like a team and function has evolved at Notion as the company has grown, I just wanted to share like some of the things that we've worked on over the past like 3 years. And I spoke about this a bit before as well, but supporting community organized groups, that's been a big one. I think like just taking like r/Notion for example, which is this subreddit that has 150,000 subscribers. This is it's I think like something this is just incredible because it's entirely community run, and it's if you take any other SaaS company, or if you could actually, I think if you combine every other SaaS company out there, like their subreddits, this is actually the biggest one with all compared to all the other ones combined, like Zoom, Slack, Figma. So I think it's really unique to see that for kind of like a SaaS enterprise product. You have kind of this kind of self-forming group on r/Notion. And yeah, and then I kind of spoke about some of these other groups as well, but they're very, very global. And really what we try to do is when we see folks who are starting or engaging in some of these groups, trying to bring them into our ambassador program so we can have close contact with them and give them whatever resources they need to continue to grow these. Yeah, we spoke about ambassadors. Another interesting thing that we've on the community side that we've been working on for probably about 1.5 years has been this concept of certified consultants. we noticed a couple folks who were starting to build businesses around Notion. They were helping other companies with their Notion workspaces or personal users, and we set up a pretty robust like certification program where people could kind of apply and if they had like 3 case studies and I think it's like 100 question multiple choice test and an assessment and kind of become a part of our certified legion of consultants. And it's been really amazing to see like a lot of conversation and a whole ecosystem kind of evolving around this. There's people who have really their entire life now is paid for by this ecosystem developing around Notion. There are folks who are fully booked out with like consulting. There are folks who run courses that have become tremendously profitable. There are folks who've started agencies, and we're super excited about this because we want them to be able to to grow together with us, and there's definitely a lot of demand for this kind of thing. So the directory that we built and the certification process is really just the starting point. But I'm personally very excited about having like a marketplace in the future where you could that is kind of endorsed and hosted by Notion, where that can continue to grow and evolve into something much bigger. So I think this is one. Premium templates is another really cool one. Folks who have been selling templates. These are templates on Etsy, Notion templates, and there's actually folks who are earning thousands of dollars from people purchasing Notion templates. So I'm personally very excited about this marketplace and ecosystem evolving into something bigger, and that's something that the community team at Notion has been really trying to lean into and figure out, like where we go from here and how do we keep kind of encouraging this and growing this ecosystem. Love to hear about what your current favorite personal page is. Is that for me or for everyone else here? Cool. Go back to that after. Community page. Yeah, this is something we, after maybe a couple months, or no, maybe like a year ago, we put together, which was kind of this like high level page where showcasing like all the things kind of going on in the Notion community. And this is actually a really helpful exercise for us to do, just because like we realized there was just so much happening and it was hard to like centralize all of it and point people in the right direction. So this is, you can go in and kind of see like here are all the ways you can get involved by joining groups or creating your own group or partnering with us on social media or contributing to our template gallery or future events you can join. Notion swag, the whole ecosystem of building a business around Notion, becoming an ambassador. We used to have like a community translation program as well. So this is kind of where we host a lot of like the public resources and guides on like just engaging and getting involved with the community. It's been very helpful for us, like as we've kind of grown and scaled. Originally it was just like me emailing people and chatting with them on Zoom, but over time, like it became untenable. So this really became like our solution for being able to engage with a lot more folks effectively. Oops, sorry. Yeah, and then unrelated, but this has just been like it's very I think it's been very neat to see just like how as the community as around Notion has grown quite a bit, like how much positivity there is. These are just some folks who are in our ambassador program, for example. And it's I definitely can't take credit for this. I don't think anyone at Notion can. It's still like amazes me like how kind and helpful people are around Notion, which is definitely something to continue to like aspire towards. And other things that we've worked on that have been interesting over the past year or two has been we kicked off like our first conference at Notion, which is something we did in last June, which was called Block by Block Europe. It was kind of more for like our European user base, and we did that with Hopin, and I think we ended up having about 14,000 people for this event. And what ended up happening as Notion has grown quite a bit over the past year is we now have someone kind of at Notion who is dedicated to organizing events. So we are going to be planning more of these as well. But it's kind of become its own pillar at Notion, which I'm very excited about. Another thing that we've kicked off has been a community for champions. So one thing we've learned from like our sales and success team has been that when teams use Notion, there's generally like one or two or maybe a couple folks who really champion Notion internally. So so we've been kind of building out a place for these champions to connect and engage with like our team and engage with each other. And this is something that's still pretty new, but it's become kind of like a big thing for us in the community team, which I think we're all pretty excited about. Oh, I see a couple questions have to drop. I'm currently at Copy AI. Awesome. Can you chat more about the ambassador program and ways to find the right people for ambassador-like programs? So for the ambassador program, we originally reached out to people who we saw like on Twitter or different places that seemed like they were kind of highly engaged. And we also created just like a submission form and just tweeted it and shared it around. And we ended up getting like a couple hundred applications that way. So it was just a combination of like outreach and also just letting folks kind of reach out to us and for ways to get involved. We also looked like for example, like in Intercom, for where we could see kind of folks who were using the product quite a bit and just to get a sense of like, are these folks really engaged and really excited about what we're doing? That was quite helpful as well. What else? Yeah, another area that the community team at Notion has worked on, it's been really exciting, has been with working with influencers. We've done a lot on like YouTube and TikTok, where we've worked with like different YouTubers and creators just to share like how they're using Notion and what they're doing with it. I think Notion is just, because it's like a very visual tool, it's worked really well for platforms like Notion, like YouTube and TikTok. So that's been really fun to grow. And we're also actually bringing someone on board now who's going to be kind of working with influencers, which I'm quite excited about. This is on TikTok. You can see like Notion has quite a big following. I think, yeah, 80 almost, I think now it's a bit higher, but it's folks have found like a way to share Notion quite effectively on TikTok. And what we do is we actually will sponsor and partner with a lot of creators like on these different platforms, Instagram as well, to share how they use Notion. Can you share how we can join the Champions community? Yeah, we haven't like fully launched it yet, the Champions community. We're still like experimenting and trying to figure out exactly how we want to structure that. But my email is ben@makenotion.com, and you can just reach out anytime. And we're getting there. We're still trying to figure it out. No problem. Yeah, and then just in terms of like some systems on the back end, things that have been helpful for us as we've grown. I think a big thing for us has just been like growing the team. Like we brought on a full-time community manager about a year ago. We've brought on a lot of contractors to help out with different things, and like I mentioned, a lot of the projects that we've worked on and have kind of grown up, we're starting to like spin them out to like different teams or different folks who have been joining the company, which has been really exciting, as like kind of an evolution of where we're going. Yeah, it's Ben at Make Notion. Yeah, that works. So yeah, that's been really helpful. And then also just testing things out pretty quickly. Like, I'm sure most of you had to switch to doing digital events and moving away from in-person events, and so just like kind of very quickly switching to things like that, and trying to outsource where possible. Those have all been very, very helpful things for us, like as we've tried to kind of scale our efforts. And I know this is always like a tricky one for like community at companies, but the way we've looked at like OKRs has been really kind of per project. Like we'll take our consultant program or ambassador program and kind of set like specific goals for those. We don't have like a kind of like a one like high level North Star metric that we're going towards, and rather we try to like kind of connect those specific projects to like our company or team goals, which can definitely be challenging, and it's definitely something that we're always trying to get better at. And I'm always curious to hear how other folks do that. Yeah, in terms of where we are today, I think these are kind of just some interesting articles about Notion and like how community has like played a big role in kind of where we've gotten. But it's been I think what's really cool and unique about Notion is like how the story of like its growth has really been tied into like the community. And you can see this article like is about, oh, I can't read it, but like it's about TikTok and also kind of the things that we've been doing like on the community side. So there's a lot of interesting stuff I didn't get into, just because there's just like so much. But there's definitely some more interesting points in here as well. You mentioned there's a lot of Facebook groups which are close to online search. How do you get visibility in close communities? What do you mean by like visibility? Like we know we're able to join those groups and see them, and we link to them on our community page.
Yeah, so I was wondering, how do you find them? How do you know they exist and you go looking for them? Because you can like do like a Google search for Reddit and TikTok, but then Facebook and like closed groups like that can be hard to find.
Oh,
Discord too.
Yeah, we have like a submission form like on our community page, Kickstarter Notion community, and so we have like a whole guide and form here, like a whole process basically for folks who want to do that. And then most folks will reach out to us. We have like it gets plugged into like an inbox called community@makenotion.com, and then we'll kind of communicate with them and kind of help them get started. But that's generally folks will reach out to us, and that's how we connect with them.
Oh, cool.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah, like that. If that's how you're finding all these communities, that's a really good method.
Yeah. Originally we didn't. That was like the smarter method. It just took us time to get there, but earlier on it was just searching and like talking to people. I mean, just talking to people all the time and being active and on Twitter and Facebook and just kind of constantly like scouring these places. But over time it's kind of shifted. Cool. Any other questions I can answer? I wanted to just also leave time to like maybe show how we use Notion like internally for community stuff. I thought that could be interesting, or just any questions about Notion, the product, or kind of what we're up to. I'm happy to answer, but feel free to let me know. Okay, cool. So I showed you. One of the ways we use it, and I already showed it, was just this public page, which it's been really helpful for us because it's just so easy and fast to edit. So this is really like our kind of public source of truth for anything kind of community related. So and we have also kind of code of conduct and brand guidelines and different guides in here. It's just like an ever it's like a resource that's kind of always growing. So that's one thing I think is really helpful with Notion. Other things, this is kind of how we structured like our internal like ambassador workspace. So we have an onboarding guide for folks when they join. We have a calendar of events, things we're planning for 2021, bugs and feature requests, directory of folks, resources that we provide to ambassadors, guide on organizing events, product brainstorming, different guides, kind of OS docs for like how the community is run, processes, communication, program overview, and then these are the public resources I showed you before. So this has been really helpful. And what we do is when we onboard folks, we'll just send them like I think I can show you. We just send them an invite link with this, and then they can just join and as a member pretty quickly.